Well, I believe everyone's an individual. And I feel like pretty much you don't have to be a specialist at shoeing at a type of horse, because horses change sports, their conformation doesn't change. Type of shoe, footwear, fit might change. Okay? I made my living not saying no. If it came along, pretty much I shot it. Okay, you know, I find out how to shoe it. You know, I mean, I know you don't need a lot of traction on sliding horses, and I shot some pretty successful ones of those, and I shot some pretty successful cutting horses and jumpers, dressage over the years, Arabians. I come from a background where we just didn't say no. We were farriers. You know, I mean, if it needed shoes, we were going to do it. You know, it's a client, it's money, it's an income. And the more variety you have in your business, the more job security you have. If you tie yourself into one thing, if that thing goes out of fashion, then you're finding more, you got to find a new business. I believe in shoeing the horse for the sport that it's doing. So I'm not one of those that just, you know, shoeing for, let's say, ideal for the horse all the time. Try and do the best I can for the horse, but I've also got to shoe for the sport. Okay, so I know with sports like roping, we don't want lost shoes. We're going to have to fit them a bit tighter. Okay, they're going to jerk them off. It's the same background I come from. We used to shoe hunters, fox hunters, but fox hunting horses, not the Missouri foxtrotter. Was it? Yeah, whatever it is. We shot fox hunters. Okay, and they went hunting, and they'd be gone 6-7 hours, galloping, trotting down the roads, across the fields. And they come to a barbed wire fence, somebody will throw a jacket over it, and they'll just jump the jackets. They just kept going, and those people couldn't afford to lose shoes because they'd be 12 miles from getting back to the truck to go home. So, you know, losing shoes wasn't really an option. And you lose a shoe, you know, you get too many shoes jerked, you're going to have some falls, you're going to get injured. So I believe in shoeing the horse for the sport that it's doing. I believe in shoeing for conformation, okay? And I don't think we can fix everything. I think quite often we got to support it, try and make it comfortable. I think there's a lot of illusion in this industry that every horse should be sound right through its life. I see a few older farriers here about my age, and I tell you what, I've heard a bit over the years, and some days I've felt better than others. I don't expect 100% soundness. Most athletes have time off with minor wear and tear. Why wouldn't horses be the same if you're pushing them to the limit? The only people that don't hurt are the people that don't try very hard. People who try the hardest hurt the most. So the same thing with horses, you know, we have this illusion that a horse should be sound till he's 25 years old. I don't think that's reality, personally. I think they're going to experience problems through their career. They may need shoeing differently as they get older, okay? They may need some add-ons as they get older, you know, and I think that's okay. And I think it's a fair reality. I think we also set up ourselves for failure sometimes because we try to say we can fix everything. I mean, some things we just can't fix. Some people are cripples, that's it. Some of these people breed horses and they just bred a cripple. They just don't want to hear that. We're going to go and try and fix it. Maybe we should just be saying we'll try and keep it going, because that's what we're trying to do, keep it going. And it's to recognize the difference, and I think there's one word in our farrier dictionary is used a lot, is conformation. Conformation is one thing. That is the shape of the bones and the way the horse is with those bones. But you can also have posture. And posture is something very different, isn't it? You can have really good conformation, you can be a slouch. That's posture, okay? You see horses that are called base narrow. Is it conformationally base narrow, or is it compensation because of inappropriate foot trimming? Because if I raise my heels, my posture changes immediately. Okay? If I put something under the inside of my foot, my posture will change immediately. My legs, if I put something under the inside of my foot, you can try, just drop a rasp on the floor. Put your foot in it, and you'll feel your hip kick out. You've changed your posture. So when we look at horses, we also got to look at what's posture and what's conformation and try and make a decision when we see defects. We've got to look for all the things that are going on. And I don't criticize farriers before you. If you're going to go and look at horses, what are you going to try to do with that horse? You weren't there when it was last shod. I tell you, I've had bad days. I judge my own work every day. How many people do that? Grade their own work. Where you put a number on it, a 7, an 8, a 9, because you're not always going to be 9s. Guarantee it. You know, and it's to put a grade on your own work just as you pick it up. 7. Okay, because that's what I do at a competition. I don't pick the foot up and look at it and think, oh, what did I give to the first horse I saw this morning? And try and compare it to 4 hours ago. I pick that foot up and I look at it as if I trimmed it. Because the only work I'm sure of is my own. And if I trimmed it like that, well, I wouldn't like it. So I give it a low score. Or if I trimmed it like that, I might not be able to trim it as well as that. But I can visualize what it should be like and give it a higher score. But it's to judge your own work on a daily basis. And so if you're going to go to a new horse, it's what are you going to try to accomplish with that horse? And I would put it like that. And see if you accomplish what you did. Because we've all thought we're going to shoe that horse better. And I tell you what, you go pick the foot up and now it's all over you. It doesn't like the farrier. You know? And your job doesn't look much different to the guy that did it before. You know, so there's reasons why, you know, just what you're going to try to accomplish and see if you live up to that. I normally do a presentation, but things that I look for every time is hoof distortion, changes in the shape of the hoof, okay? Any change in the shape, flares. It can be a toe flare. Toe flares are created by leverage, aren't they? But then you've also got to decide if it's a medial or lateral flare. So you may get some feet that get a medial flare or a lateral flare because of conformation. Could be conformation, could be farrier error. Okay, if we leave the one foot, if a foot longer on one side and shorter on the other side, the long side's going to flare, isn't it? Because it's going to try to flatten. If you visualize, not that, a pencil with an eraser on the end, and it's flexible. And when you push it vertically into a piece of hard surface, what happens? It distorts evenly. If I cut it at an angle and I push into a hard surface, what's going to happen? It's going to load for a while on the long side, isn't it? But if you keep pushing, it's going to become flat. What it's going to do is cause a flare on one side. So you get medial and lateral flares because of uneven weight bearing. And it can be conformation because the bones are crooked. It can be because I trimmed it too long on one side last time. Okay? So we're looking for hoof distortion. We are looking for underrun heels, changing in the shape of the coronary band. We're looking for flattening of the sole, separation of the white line, fractures or distortion of the bars or of the buttresses. We look for any distortion in the hoof. Okay? That tells me a lot. Okay? Some of it is a guy, some of you might have heard the name Don Birdsall. Don Birdsall was a guy that did coronary band graphing. And he'd put marks equal distance each side of the center of the coronary band, and he'd measure the length of the horn tubules at that point. And he'd make a graph. And if you had a balanced foot, you should have a nice even curve. If you've got one side longer than the other, well, you're not going to have a nice even curve line, are you, each side of center? I'll do that on the whiteboard after. But when I walk up to a horse, I look to see, I visualize the center line down the foot and see if I have equal length each side of center. Equal length, equal angle. You know, it's automatic for me that I go through that process. It takes some practice that you do each thing, but once you're doing it, it takes 30 seconds a horse longer. It's automatic. It's part of your process. You can't help watching a horse walk up without seeing that. You don't need to watch him walk the length of the driveway to see that. You can see him walk from the stall door almost. I do recommend that you walk horses up at least. Because I don't know whether any of you guys, but I'm sure there's a few older guys here have been blamed for shoeing a horse that was lame and they never walked it up and they got the blame. We need to watch them walk up. When we watch them walk up, we're watching medial lateral balance. Medial lateral balance is how they put the foot onto the ground. Does it land flat? How does it weight bear? Okay? Does the fetlock go down straight over the foot? Does it go sink to one side or the other? And how does it move forward with the leg in the air? Does it swing in? Does it swing out? Okay. What compensations is it doing? And so that's medial lateral balance. You saw me walk alongside the horse when it walked there, because if I can't lunge it, the only way I can see it, how it extends, is to walk beside the horse. And I'll walk up beside the horse to see how it lands, loads, and breaks over. Okay? Because how it lands is where you're going to, how important the heel trim is. How it loads is how the base is underneath the leg, and then it's leverage on breakover if the toe is too long. And do we realize breakover is different depending on the surface? If you've got concrete, breakover is at the point when the leg gets as far back as possible and the heel lifts off. But if you're in a sand arena, the moment you go past center stride, you start transferring the weight onto the toe. The toe is sinking in. Well, that's elevating the heels. Breakover has started. So breakover will be different on different surfaces. Okay? And you may position the shoe or use a different type of shoe depending on what surface that you're working on. But it's important that the foot functions properly through one stride. If you think about it, the different forces in one stride. When the foot goes to the ground, you have concussion. How long does a concussion last? It's over in milliseconds, isn't it? Once that foot stopped, you no longer have concussion. From that point, it's starting to weight bear on the heels. So the heels now need to be in the right place so the heels don't sink into the ground, so they need enough support. When it gets to center stride, you want to have pretty much a good base of support for the horse. He's not sinking in one way or the other. And the moment he goes past center stride, it's becoming mechanical. So you don't want too long a toe. You notice we get a lot of high lows now? Now, the farrier gets a lot of blame on those when they're not moving right. How many people take the time to look at their shoulders and see that the leg that's high has got a very narrow shoulder, and the leg that's low has got a much bigger shoulder? And if you think about it logically, the horse will work in the direction of the high leg very easily. But when you ask him to go the other direction, he has more difficulty because the legs are, in my opinion, of different length. Why do I say they're different length? Well, if I go a straight line from his withers to the ground, A to B, in a vertical line, that's the shortest distance. So if I've got one upright pastern and one upright foot, I've probably got an upright shoulder. So if I go upright, straight, fairly upright, compared to angled down and angled, the one that's more upright is going to be a shorter physical leg. Okay? And if you start taking x-rays of those, you can see it in the pastern bones for P1 and P2. So we're not going to make those horses move evenly and make them correct. What we try to do is make them comfortable. Try to make both legs comfortable, not try to match them to each other, but make them both healthy as individuals. And then we can play around with the breakover on the low angle leg, the one with the bigger foot. And we can move that shoe back so we have the same amount of leverage on the toes. So we'd shoe the high angle the foot first, place the shoe on it, measure from the toe back to the frog, and we place the shoe in the same place on the other foot. So there's lots of things that we've got to look at when we're watching these. If we look at him constantly standing right now, what do we see? Do we see that he's got one leg in front of the other? You know? And so he's got a posture difference there. I think that's posture. I think if we get the feet trimmed where we can make it easier for him to stand with two legs vertical, okay? But I think we'll start with, when we do shoe him, we'll start with his left front and his right hind, because we're going to watch him walk in a minute. And when you watch him walk on this right hind, watch him, and you'll see that he'll bring the leg inside a vertical, okay? And on this surface, his fetlock is falling just a little bit to the outside. But if he was on an arena, his fetlock would fall very much to the outside because he's loading that outside heel. The inside would come up, outside heel would go down, and the fetlock would fall more to the outside. So can you walk him, Mike, please? So the main thing right now is let's just focus on his two hind legs. And look at it. See the right hind is inside a vertical, and the fetlock and the foot are rotating just a little bit. And I think we can improve that. And I'm not using the word correct. I would say normalize.
That's your question.
Yeah.
When he was standing, he did get a stand pattern of left foot forward slightly. Do you think that's partially because the right hind wanted to be slightly forward?
I think he's got a different balance on his right front to his left front. I would say it's more that.
The front has got some crushed up heels pretty bad.
Yeah, and I think that's why, and if we can improve that. Do you notice when he looks like he's coming towards you, it almost looks like his toes lifting. Let's go again. Just watch the, and I'm one of those people, don't watch everything. Watch his left hind when his right hand when he goes away and his left front when he comes back. And when you watch, see his left hind is inside of vertical. And if it was a soft surface, that outside heel would sink in the ground, causing him more rotation again. Okay, Mike, and watch the left front when it comes back. You'll almost see it like flip it up at the toe.
You said the left?
Left front.
Yep.
Can you see it? It's like a flick.
Yeah.
But
Yes, those heels need to be lowered.
the heels need to be. I'm gonna correct you. No, lowered, I would slap you for. Normalized, I would say yes. Meaning, the reason we're going to take it away is because it has too much. If I say to you as a horse owner, I'm going to lower the horse's heels, it doesn't sound so good. What if I say to you, I'm going to normalize the heels?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, and that's why. It's like saying you've got long toe, low heel, and low toe, collapsed heel. If I say to you as a veterinarian or horse owner, you've got low heels, well, if I start seeing you cut them off because they're collapsed, I'm going to say, what the hell are you doing? They're low heels. If I say to you, you've got long toe, collapsed heels, then it gives a different message. I think the message that we send has to be constant. And that's why I don't use the word correct. I'm not going to correct this horse. I'm going to try to normalize some of the trimming and structures.